Hello and welcome to the latest Q&A with Asthma UK and the British Lung Foundation's in-house GP, Dr. Andy. In this episode, he'll be chatting with Joe Aldrich about how to manage your condition when air pollution is high, as well as some advice for booking GP appointments. And stay tuned for Dr. Andy's warm weather tips. They'll be great for keeping you safe and well now that the weather's warmer. If you need any information about anything discussed in the video today, there's lots of useful links in the description below. And if you find this video helpful, please do let us know by leaving your comments, giving us a like, or subscribing to our channel today. And if you feel able to, please do consider making a small donation today to help us continue to defend the nation's lungs.
Hi, Joe, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, very well. Another month has flown by and it's time for another Q&A.
Brilliant, great to see you again.
Likewise.
Great to do this again, actually.
Yep. Well, hopefully we'll get it all done with no hiccups. I think you know the formula by now, but for those watching at home, I'm going to ask Andy some questions, most of which are influenced by the topics that we get through via our helpline. So I'm going to ask Andy the questions and he's going to endeavour to answer them for me.
I'll try my best.
Excellent. Okay, well, Andy, I'm going to kick off with one around air pollution. So we hear from supporters that their asthma or lung condition symptoms can get worse on days where where air pollution is high. So what would you recommend people do if this starts to happen to them?
Okay, so people with lung conditions, but also people without lung conditions, do notice when there's high pollution or poor air quality, and it can cause them difficulty in breathing and make them feel like they're struggling for air or struggling for oxygen, I suppose. So poor air quality comes from gases and particles in the air, and this can come from traffic, from smoking, from bonfires, from wood-burning stoves, and even barbecues this time of year. So all of these things irritate the airways. And I mean, in a survey that Asthma UK did, 2/3 of people said that actually their symptoms were made worse by poor air quality. And we also know it can be worse for children, people with some more severe diseases, and people who've got hay fever, because pollen and pollution combine to affect the lungs at the same time for some people. So the sorts of things that we tell people on the helpline, but I also say to my patients in practice, is firstly make sure you do take your preventer medicine all the time. What this does is it helps to dampen down how irritable the airways are, whether you've got asthma or COPD or another lung condition. If you've got preventer medication, it helps to keep it well. If you carry a reliever inhaler, have it with you at all times, because you never know when poor air quality or another trigger can catch you out and cause you to have symptoms and really make your lungs bad. Keep an eye on the forecast, and DEFRA, they put out reports on the internet, but also through local and national news. And you can also find updates on the Asthma UK and British Lung Foundation Facebook and Twitter pages. I advise people to avoid the main roads and road junctions, because this is obviously where pollution will be at its highest, but also bus stations and car parks as well. If pollution levels are high, people should try and avoid exercising at those times, or even look at going out or doing exercise earlier in the day, because that's when levels haven't really built up at that stage. And if you do have to go out during the day when you know that pollution is going to be a bit higher, go on the back streets, find routes where you're maybe not getting as much pollution, and maybe the air quality is that little bit better. So if people follow their action plans as well, and seek help if their lungs are getting worse, then that's obviously what they need to do if the air pollution does set them off. And I suppose the other thing is just let you know that Asthma UK and British Lung Foundation do work very closely with other organisations to make sure that the government listens to people with lung diseases to help protect people with lung diseases from the effects of pollution, and help to protect future generations as well. So it's something that we're doing as a whole organisation to try and prevent the effects of poor air quality.
Yeah, I was going to mention the British Lung Foundation's Clean Air Hub as well, where I think people can sign petitions and contact their MPs regarding improving air quality.
Yeah, that's really important. It also just helps keep people updated what we are doing, and it's fair enough you and me here giving people advice about what to do, but it doesn't stop air pollution or make any difference to what's actually out there now. But actually, we can all work together to make a big difference. So definitely have a visit to the hub.
Yes, and I'll make sure that the link is in the description below for everybody watching, Andy.
Yeah, and I'll put my early apology in now. I can't remember all the web pages and things, so just keep putting up lots of links for people, Joe.
Certainly will do, not a
Thank you.
problem. So the next question, without wanting to tempt fate, is looking at the fact that the weather is hopefully improving, and that as a result, people are probably wanting to get a little bit more active now. So would you have any recommendations for people with asthma or another lung condition about how they can go about getting a little bit more active now the weather's hopefully improving?
You're absolutely right. This recent warm weather is getting more people out and about, and usually that means people doing more activity or exercise. And I think on a previous podcast, we've talked a lot about the benefits of exercise, keeping people fit, helping people manage their weight, preventing other diseases. It's also good for mental health and can improve how well our lungs, our hearts, our muscles work so that we're not affected in the same way by breathlessness or tiredness if you've got lung diseases. And also, I think everybody can benefit to some extent from being a little bit more active. Improving your fitness is really important to help keep you fit and well and active, and just help to keep you generally ticking along better. So my advice to people is, if you've got lung disease, make sure it's stable before you start doing any new exercise. If your lungs are struggling for whatever reason, visit your GP or your respiratory nurse for some advice about whether it's you need some treatment for that lung condition at the moment, or whether there's something else that you need to be doing before starting exercise. When starting an exercise or being more active, think about what you want to achieve. Is it just a question of being out there and doing more, or is there some target you want to hit? Do you actually want to be able to walk to the nearest shop? Do you want to be able to cycle a certain distance? Just think about what's appropriate for you and what you would like to achieve. But don't go straight to it. Start slowly. Try and find some very small, achievable steps that you can take, so that actually over time you can gradually build up to that bigger target and get to where you want to be. Something that I think is really important is don't do it in isolation. Even if it's just support from your family and friends, that can be really important for you. But sometimes it is about finding people who are exercising with you or working with you as a group to give you that motivation support to keep exercising and keep being more active. Once you do hit your target, think about your next target. So keep working up little by little to be able to do more. And finally, Joe, if you can signpost people to the right parts of our website, British Lung Foundation on their website have got a really excellent exercise handbook. And this means that absolutely anybody with any lung disease of any severity can start to work through it to try and find the exercise levels that suit them and work for them and can get them coping with their disease better and being more active. And if anybody needs a little bit more motivation, Asthma UK and British Lung Foundation are working together with the Take Steps programme. And what we're looking for people to do with that is to commit to do a certain number of steps in a month. It's very relaxed, it's free, you can do it in your own way and at your own speed, but it's just a really good way of helping to get people to be a bit more active, but also be part of a group doing it together. It's also a useful way of raising money for the charity as well. So definitely worth people having a look at that if you can signpost them, Joe. And I certainly look forward to sharing how I've got along with it as well.
Excellent, that's great, Andy. And I'll make sure that that the links you've mentioned for both the BLF's exercise handbook and the Take Steps challenge are in the description below for people.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Not a problem. Andy, so the next one, the next question for you is talking about GP surgeries, which hopefully you'll be able to help us with. The helpline seems to be getting quite a few calls from people about getting access to their GP. So what would you recommend people with asthma and other lung conditions do if they need to book an appointment with their GP or another healthcare professional at the moment?
This is really difficult, actually, Joe, and it's a really hot topic that's been talked about in all GP surgeries across the country, throughout the NHS, and by government as well. We're hearing it on the helpline as well, as you say, that people are struggling to navigate the health system to get appointments when they need them, being stuck on phone lines or getting stuck on email chats. And it just doesn't feel satisfactory for anybody at the moment, for us in the health service, but especially for the people who are trying to get to see and speak to us. The reason why it's difficult is as we're coming out of the pandemic, lots of people have been holding off seeing us about things that have been wrong with them. But with more people working from home, there's also more opportunities to contact us. So lots of people are getting in contact with us more often. And let's say there's problems that have been on hold for a little while as well. We're still working to try and keep staff and patients safe, so not bringing in too many people for face-to-face appointments. We're also delivering all the COVID jabs at the moment, and we've got a backlog of work throughout general practice and supporting all the people who can't see specialists at the moment. So first thing to say is as GPs, we've always been open through the pandemic in one way or another. Certainly my practice and most practices I know about are seeing people when they need to be seen face to face. We're setting up more ways of contacting the surgery. So people obviously phoning in, we've now got email, and there's lots of other ways that perhaps we're having communication with people at the moment. We're employing more staff, not necessarily more GPs, but we've got access to more pharmacists, social prescribers, to nurse practitioners, to physiotherapists, and our team is getting bigger in how that we can help support more people who need to be seeing people in the NHS. And at the same time, we're all adapting. So it's not just people trying to see the GP who are finding it difficult. GP surgeries are also learning how to use these technologies and learning to talk to people on the phones to check people over. And that's become an increasing difficulty that we're getting to grips with now. So what should people do next? Well, before the pandemic, what we did know is that people were often frustrated that they had to come into the surgery to make an appointment or see their GP or nurse. And actually, telephone and email is a good way around it for them. The pandemic means, unfortunately, I think the NHS has probably changed. And like shopping, like banking, we're going to be encouraged to do a lot more online, over the telephone, and see a wider range of people. So I think some of what we're seeing at the moment is here to stay. People with lung disease need to be honest. And if there's a reason why they can't use the technology or have difficulty using the phone, then be honest with the GP practice. Let them know that you have difficulties, and they can probably find some ways around it for you. If you are offered an appointment by phone or over the internet, or you're sent questionnaires, make the most of that way of contacting us, because that is a really good way of actually getting your foot in the door to explaining your problems so that we know how that we can help you best. And finally, like you would for any appointment with a GP or nurse or consultant, do some preparation. Have a list of what your problems are. Think about what you're hoping for out of the appointment, and also anything that you're particularly worried about. Something that we have heard on the helpline is that people, GPs or nurses, have dived straight in to help with the first problem they hear about, and actually they haven't given time to listen to what the person is actually worried about. So it's really important to make sure that when you are communicating with us, that you try and let us know exactly what you need us to do to help you most. So I think in summary, Joe, it's about everybody getting used to a new way of working. And that will mean the NHS continue with some of these methods, but also trying to find ways that suit everybody at the same time. So I think it's going to improve from where we are now, but at the moment we're all still learning about how to do it best.
Andy, you mentioned about obviously taking on more pharmacists. Would you also recommend to people perhaps going directly to their pharmacist if they've got questions and they can't get to their GP?
Yes, I think that's a really good point. Apart from your GP surgery, there's also 111 who can be really helpful, especially if you think a problem is a little bit more urgent and you've not been able to get hold of your GP for whatever reason. The pharmacy can help with so many different things, including your medicines, including minor illnesses, and actually they're trained and very effective in doing lots of things, but will very quickly tell you if you do need to get hold of your GP, and tell you ways in which to do that. So yeah, there's lots of different ways in which you can get in touch with the NHS, and it doesn't always have to be the GP.
That's great. Thanks, Andy. The next one, talking about warm weather again, I can't help but feel in our last Q&A I cursed the weather.
I think you've got shares in sun cream, Joe, haven't you?
Pardon?
So shares in sun cream?
Exactly. So now it's starting to get very warm across the UK. Fingers crossed it continues. What tips would you give for people with asthma or other lung conditions so that they can help to take care of themselves in the warm weather?
No, you're absolutely right. We're recording this today when it's quite warm and quite sticky actually down here on the south coast. So first thing I'm going to do is actually plug our website. So if you can give some links to the Asthma UK and British Lung Foundation pages on coping in warm weather, they're really useful and will cover a lot more than what I can probably cover here, so people can read it in their own time and take some of that in. Secondly, I don't know if you know this, Joe, but on the 21st of June for a week, it's actually Love Your Lungs Week. So as well as we've talked about people being more active and getting out there, we want people to look after their lungs in warm weather as well. So make sure that they're not doing anything that puts their lungs in danger of getting more symptoms or becoming unwell. So again, that's something else I think we want people to go and have a look at and read more about. So as a GP, I worry about people firstly getting dehydrated in the warmer weather. The warm weather can affect air quality of some people. The high humidity can make it difficult. And also higher pollen levels tend to happen when it's warmer weather, and that can affect many people with lung diseases. So I think, like most people, we in the UK we do like to talk about the weather. So keep an eye on the weather forecast, and as I think I said earlier, that they do tell you not just about the weather and the temperature, but about the air quality and pollen levels as well. And that's really important that people with lung disease know the things that are out there that might affect them. This might sound simple, but try and avoid the heat if that's possible. So obviously some times of the day, during the middle of the day and in the afternoon, are generally hotter and the sun's more intense. So avoid going out and being in the direct sun at those times if you can. And when you are out and about, find areas of shade, whether you're out walking or whether you're just sitting outside, find an area of shade to protect yourself from the direct heat. Sensible clothing is important. So hats, sunglasses, loose-fitting, cool clothing is all good so you're not overheating. Some people, we see them carrying a fan around with them, but actually in the house as well, if you can have a fan going, just to keep the air moving, that keeps the air a bit cooler. And be sensible, don't go exercising in the heat of the day. Find a cooler time of day, or don't exercise if you know the heat's going to affect you. So just be sensible around it. And you can't overestimate or underestimate the effect of drinking. Have plenty of cold water, even if you're not feeling thirsty. And we find that tea, coffee, even Coca-Cola can be dehydrating. And alcohol's the same. It's not great to be drinking alcohol in the hot weather, no matter how tempting it is. Keeping your house cool is another thing that people often don't think about. They're out enjoying the sun all day and then come home and the house is actually boiling hot. So by opening the windows or covering the windows with curtains or blinds, that can help to keep the house cool during the day so that when you are wanting to cool down, it's not too bad for you. And when it's really hot, I will have an extra shower in the day or a cool bath just to try and reduce the temperature. And this is something I know a lot of my patients really benefit from. And I suppose simply around respiratory conditions, take your medications regularly and as they're being prescribed. If you've got an action plan, follow it so you know what to do if things aren't going quite so well with your lung condition. And let your GP or nurse know if you're feeling unwell due to the hot weather or because of your breathing. So there's some very simple things that we should all be doing, and then some very specific things that you should do if you've got a lung condition. Does that answer your question, Joe?
It certainly does, Andy. I think there's lots of really useful tips there for anybody watching.
Yeah, I think the website covers a lot more things than that, so definitely worth having a look there.
I was going to say I'll make sure that we include links to the warm weather advice on both the Asthma UK and the British Lung Foundation's websites in the descriptions below. One of the tips that I've recently read in something that you've done for us, Andy, which didn't occur to me until after I'd read it, was about keeping medication cool, and I believe you you recommend people to carry their medication in a cool bag, for instance?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this sort of time of year, you sort of carry out, make sure your drinks stay cool and your food stays cool, but actually your medicines as well have got a shelf life, need to be stored in the right conditions. So definitely worth having a look on the packet, whether it's an inhaler or tablets or some liquid, to see what the storage instructions are. Because actually in hot weather, it could have an effect on all of those things. And making sure it's in a cool, dark place, keeping it in a cool bag if that's what's needed, but certainly worth having a look at your medicines and seeing the best way of storing them.
And as you said, it is Love Your Lungs Week from the 28th of June. Sorry, from the 21st to the 28th of June. And for anybody who's interested in finding out more about that, be sure to check out both Asthma UK and the British Lung Foundation's social media channels, because there'll be lots of information being shared about Love Your Lungs Week on those channels.
Perfect.
It's going to be our final question for today's episode. And for anybody watching, if you have found today's Q&A useful, please do let us know by adding your comments below or simply by giving the video a like. And of course, please remember to subscribe to the British Lung Foundation's channel so that you're the first to hear about any upcoming videos from us. So the final question, we all know that having an asthma action plan is very important in helping you manage your condition, but not everyone has one. What advice would you give people who are wondering whether or not to get themselves an asthma action plan?
It's not just asthma, Joe. It's actually anybody with any long-term conditions, so asthma, COPD, bronchiectasis, some people with lung fibrosis as well. Because as a GP, I will see somebody once a year, or my nurse might see them once a year, and then at any flare-up time as well. That's a lot of time when people are sort of looking after themselves. And what an action plan or a care plan or a self-management plan does, it helps remind people about the basics they need to be doing to stay well for their lung condition, and most importantly, tells them what to do if they're not feeling so well with their lung condition. So they know whether there's things that they need to do themselves or whether there's things that they need to do in terms of getting in touch with GP or even an A&E or an ambulance. So it's really important that people have that support through the year and not just when they're spending 10, 15, 20 minutes with their healthcare professional. So for people with asthma this year, if they go for an asthma review with their GP, they should get an asthma action plan every single time. So that's part of now how we are being told to sort of look after people with asthma. A lot of us have been doing it already, but now everybody should be getting this as well. You can download one from our website, and I know you will put the link on for this, Joe, so people can download it to take it to an appointment or to talk it through with their GP or asthma nurse or their pharmacist. And on the BLF site, we've also got self-management plans for COPD, which again, really, really useful for helping people know what to do to stay well and then what to do if they're not feeling so well. So it's one of the most crucial things, really, because as well as knowing what your condition is and how it behaves, what medicines to take and how you should take it correctly, the action plan is crucial in helping people stay well through the year, or at least knowing what to do when they're not so well.
That's great. Thank you, Andy. And as you say, I'll make sure that we include links to all of the different action plans that both Asthma UK and the British Lung Foundation offer in the description below.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Once again, for those watching at home, please do give this video a like or subscribe to our channel to be the first to hear about any upcoming videos from the British Lung Foundation. And just to say, if you do find the advice that Andy provides useful, or if you've ever used any of our services via our website or our helpline, please do consider making a small donation today, because you'll be helping us to continue these services. Andy, thank you so much once again for taking the time to speak with me, and I look forward to catching up again very soon.
Thank you, Joe. You take care.
My pleasure. You too. Cheerio.
Thank you so much for watching today's Q&A with Dr. Andy. brought to you by Asthma UK and the British Lung Foundation. If you found what we've been discussing today useful, please do like the video, comment and subscribe to our channel. As mentioned, you can find lots of useful links below. And please remember, if you're able to and you find our health advice useful, please do consider making a small donation today to help us continue defending the nation's lungs.